Let us talk about some of the numeric functions we might use quite often. Apps always return positive number. Apps stands for absolute. Sum or average takes group of column values and returns total or average. We also use these functions using group by quite a lot. Round typically rounds off to the given integer or up to the decimal point specified. It is typically used on top of sum or average when we try to add up several floating numbers or get average of several floating numbers. The decimals might be more than 2 and we might want to round off it to 2 decimals. Also we can use it to round off to the nearest integer. If it is less than half, it will actually give us the prior integer. If it is more than half, it will give us the next integer. Ceil always gives us the next integer based upon the decimal value that is passed. So if it is 3.2, it will give us 4. Even if it is 3.9, it will give us 4. Floor always gives us the prior integer. So in the case of 3.2 or 3.2, it will give us 3. In the case of 3.8 also, it will give us 3. Greatest takes 2 or more numbers and give us the greatest of the numbers. Min or max typically use a group of values and gives us the minimum or maximum of the values. It can be used not only on the numbers, it can be used on the other data types also. Rand can be used to give us a random number. Rand stands for random here. Pow stands for power and it will give us power of one number to the other. Square root gives us the square root of the number. Also there are statistical functions such as cumdist or cumulative distribution, standard deviation, variance. If you want to solve certain statistical types of problems, you can use these functions. I'm not going to cover examples with these, but we will see examples with rest of the functions that are highlighted here. So you can actually run this query to get absolute value of negative 10.5 or 10.5 and 10. It actually returns positive 10.5 and positive 10. Absolute always gives us the positive number of a given number. You can actually take care of average like this. I have to connect to the database. So let me connect to the database here. So we have a database called as itversity underscore retail. We should have this table called as order items in it. We can validate by saying show tables. You can see that order items is there. So using order items, we will try to get average of order item subtotal for order ID 2. So what it will do, it will add all the values that are written by order item subtotal and divide by number of items we have with order item order ID 2. So in this case, let's divide this query into 2. First, let us actually remove this and only use order item, order ID and order item subtotal. Let us run this first. It will return 3 records. You can see the 3 records here. Now it will add up all the 3 and divide by 3 because we have 3 items with order item order ID 2 to give us the average, and you can see the average here. Similarly, if you want to get the sum of these values, you can actually run this. However, in this case, I am just grouping by all the order item order IDs and getting corresponding order revenue. Here it is supposed to be average, not sum. So let me run this, and you should be able to get the average order item subtotal for each and every order ID. Similarly, if you want to get sum of these values for each order ID, you can say sum like this. Let me rename it as sum here, and you should be able to get the total order revenue for each and every order ID. You can see the details here. Now if you look at this, all the decimals are more than 2 digits. If you want to round it off to 2 digits, that's where the round function comes into picture. Let's look into examples related to round along with floor and ceil. If you run this, you can see that round is rounding it off to 11, which is the nearest integer to 10.58. Floor will always give us the prior integer, which is 10. Ceil will always give the next integer, which is 11. When it comes to this example, this will be returning 10 because 10 is the nearest integer to 10.44 compared to 11, and hence it will return 10. However, here we are trying to round it off to 1 decimal. As 10.44 up to 1 decimal is near to 10.4, it will return 10.4. With respect to this, it will return 10.5. These will always be returning the prior and later integers, and hence you will be getting 10 and 11 for floor and ceil, and you can see the results here. Now if you look at the output of this query, it have actually returned the average revenue with too many decimals. If you want to round it off to 2 decimals and get output as 193.33, you can use round like this. You can specify round and then pass average as first argument like this, and then you can actually specify the decimals you want to see. Now if you run this, it will actually return 193.33 because 3 to 6, the nearest 2 point decimal is 33. That's why you are seeing 33 here. You can also apply round on top of average when we use group by with the similar syntax. There is nothing difference here, and you should be able to see the average revenue with two decimals for each and every order ID. You can also use it on top of sum like this. Earlier we have seen too many decimals, now it is only showing two decimals. Greatest can be used to get the greatest of all the numbers. You can pass as many arguments as you want. It need not be 2. Now I have passed 3 arguments and you can see the results here. It have returned 13. I am also passing one more, which is nothing but minus 13. Still you should be able to see the 13. You can get a random decimal by saying rand like this. However, if you want to generate a random integer using rand, this is how it will look like. You just have to get random decimal, multiply with 100, and then you should be rounding it off. Once it is rounded off, you can typecast it into integer, and then it will actually return an integer less than 100. So if you run this many times, you will see that it is always between 1 to 100. Now if you want to generate any random number between 1 and 1000, then you can actually increase it to 1000 here, and you should be able to see the integer below 1000. Similarly, if you want to generate a random integer below 10,000, you can just say 10,000 here, and you should be able to get the number below 10,000. If you want to get 0 or 1, you just have to say 1 here, and it will return either 0 or 1. I ran this query accidentally. Let's run this once again. You can see 0 here. So like this, you can actually generate an integer up to whatever number you want to see. Now min and max along with sum is demonstrated here. Min and max are also aggregate functions. So within each order item order ID, we are not only trying to get the sum of the order item subtotal, we are also trying to get min and max, and you can see the output here. So let me rerun this. The column name for this one is order revenue sum, not average, and you can see the output here. So for min, you are getting 100. For max, you are getting 250. You can also use this on a particular order item order ID like this. So in this case, instead of saying group by, I am just saying where order item order ID equal to 2. We can remove this limit 10 because it have only 3 records, and you can also remove this because we are anyway filtering for order item order ID 2. If you have non-aggregate column here, you have to use group by to group by a particular value. Now you can run this and you should be able to see the results. If you want to compare whether it is giving us the correct results or not, you just have to say select star from here. You should be able to see all the 3 records that are there as part of order items. Let's limit the scope to order item order ID and order item subtotal. Now we can run this and you can see the minimum order item subtotal is 129.99, maximum is 199.99, and sum is adding all these 3 values, and you can see that it is returning the values as expected. Maximum is 250, not 199.99, and that's why you are seeing 250. It was my bad that I said 199.99 earlier. So this is how you should be able to use min and max to get the minimum or maximum within a group of numbers. They can also be used on top of non-numeric types such as dates, strings, etc.